Hello everyone. In today's video, I am going to be going over the FL Studio template that I have made and released to the public that you can download for free right now using the media links in the description, or you can also download it from my Discord server in the templates download channel. So, first things first, there have been a lot of different changes that I have made from my other template. First off, I've removed the inserts and I've replaced them with these groups. You can see the names of specific groups like drums, instruments, vocals, so that way you know which is which, and they've all been separated into groups. And also, there's a lot more mixer presets here. Before, I only had the mastering and the vocals and the instruments, but now I've added the drum group and the sound effects group, which has 5 different mixer inserts for sound effects and riser mixer insert. And then these other mixers you can use for other things. There's some other stuff that I've used for previous songs, like this gatekeeper and this. You don't need to worry about gatekeeper, you can just delete it. And this too. So that might be included within the template, but yeah, those are just some things that I don't really use for this template as much, but I have included them into other things, so you can use these mixer tracks for whatever isn't included here. The vocals, this is mainly what the vocal processing is. It's going to be, now, depending on what your setup is, it'll probably be different, but this is just going to be the base EQ for it. If you need to, you can adjust for less lows or less highs, or maybe more highs. Maybe you need to change something in the mid-range, something like that, just until you get the vocals to sound just right within the EQ. Also, if needed, there is this, which is the noise gate. You can adjust the threshold if there is a louder noise, then you can turn it up or down depending on what your noise situation is. If you have a microphone that doesn't produce as much noise and is very clear, then you don't need this. However, I use this most of the time because I have a lot of noise that goes throughout my microphone, especially from my laptop fans. Then we have the vocal processor here. This is a vocoder that I use that I got from a friend. Again, if it doesn't sound well to you, you can turn it off. The OTT I've kept at 11% with some slight changes to these here. So it can be a sort of compressor while also making sure that the vocals aren't too modified with it. So I make sure I keep the depth really low. And then there is some slight reverb with slight wetness that again you can change if needed. So if for whatever reason your vocals need more reverb, you can add this. Some other things you can also add to it if needed are things like compressor or camel crusher if you have that type of distortion you're looking for. I recommend this plugin. Now I'm pretty sure this is a free plugin. I could be wrong, but if it isn't, well, yeah. But definitely check it out. I'm pretty sure this is a free plugin, so check it out if you will. Camel Audio, I'm pretty sure it's there. As for the backing vocals, they don't have anything on them, but if you need to, you can just copy this and put them onto the backing vocals. If you don't have auto-tune plugin or anything, you can add a plugin called Pitcher, and it's basically just FL Studios auto-tune plugin, and then you can just set it to the scale or the key that you need to, and things like that. For the instruments, guitar, just a simple EQ that I've used for one of my songs, but you can remove it if needed or modify it. There's some delay that adds a bit of wideness to it, so if I were to show you an example right here, as you can see, it has a little backing out and all that, but you can adjust these settings if needed. Lead, I try not to go too crazy on the EQ, just add some portamento to it and things here. Now, one of the things I also recommend for your lead, for your slides and your lead, is to set it to mono. This is something I forgot to do, but just click here and set it to mono. That way you won't have any key conflicts when you're pressing multiple keys in poly. I'd recommend turning this on. I just forgot to in the template. The ARP, pretty simple, just some things added here, or simple ARP, nothing too special. And again, these are both 3x oscillator, by the way, so you shouldn't have any issues with them because 3x oscillator is included with FL Studio. The guitar uses Odin 3. If you're having any plugin like conflicts, I recommend checking the README, as there will be a lot of different plugins you can use as alternative for the ones that you don't have. So make sure to check it out, as there's other stuff too that's very helpful. There's also a slight compressor, which again you can just change with Fruity Compressor, but I'm using Fruity C. This is mainly how you can adjust the volume of your master, so I recommend using, if you're using like Fruity Compressor for example, then just go ahead and just adjust with the gain, and you can adjust settings here if needed until it doesn't sound like it's, making sure that it's not clipping. There's also this mastering tool to make sure that everything doesn't sound harsh and things like that, as well as this, which again, you can adjust settings here if needed, but I recommend keeping the depth really low because OTT is not really good when it's at 100. So just keep the depth like really low for the master, and then adjust settings here if needed for the multi-band compressor. And then this is just to remove some of the highs, because sometimes it can sound bad if there's too many. The bass has this included sidechain, which is applied with the kick, which has again, this has a compressor, but you can just use a Fruity Compressor if needed and adjust the settings, as well as an EQ for the kick, which is pretty simple. Just a few nudges to the sub and the low mid, and just turning down the highs a bit. Same story for the hi-hat, but I tried to get more mids in there, less highs, less lows. And then for the sub, we have Fruity Wave Shaper, which is basically the distortion plugin for the sub, as well as an EQ that I used where I just cut all of the highs. Now, you don't need to use Pro Q3. You can use a different plugin, like for example, if you want to use a different EQ, I recommend this one, which is a Paramedic EQ3. And then from here, you can just set this to be a low pass, and then set this to be up to, probably say like the first one is fine. And then you can go into the sub, and you can remove it until the frequencies aren't harsh. Just like that. And then this, you don't really need to have it, I just use it to mess with the tone of it. Things like that. And then for the bass, this is the distortion plugin I use, Kilohertz Distortion. It is a free plugin, but if you don't have it, I just recommend getting it. There's not really a good alternative to it, but there's like a paid plugin that I'm pretty sure is similar to it, but it's a really good distortion plugin. I recommend getting it. Again, compressor is Pro C2. Bass cut, basically, I've cut out some of the highs. I've cut out like a lot of the highs here, and some of the lows for the sub until it's in this bass area, because for the bass, there's a lot of harsh frequencies in the sub, which is why I've kind of cut them out here. And so you can just pair it up with a sub here, so that way when you have them combined together, you'll have a bassy sound. I'm pretty sure that's it for the drum master. This is mainly for contact drums, like transient processor, compressor, EQ. However, they can be modified in order to make sure that your drums aren't too loud or anything like that, because the kick can be one of the loudest ones in your project, and other drums can as well. So make sure you modify them to your heart's content. And then, sound effects master, you can just add as a master for all these. There's masters for each thing here. The bass mix is basically just for the sidechain, but you can add other things to it if needed. And then I think I've already gone over the mastering. As you can see, there's tracks for each one, and there's 3 groups for each track. So we have drums, we have instruments, and we have the vocals. So again, you can add more if needed, but these are just some of the ones that come with the template. And then, as you can see, I've also included some samples, like the kick here, the snare, hi-hat, ride, crash, and a riser, which again can be interchangeable if needed. These are just ones that I've gotten from sample packs, but you can change them if needed. I don't know how to make samples. These are just some ones that I've included because a lot of the stock FL ones aren't that good. So I recommend getting some sample packs because you're not going to find a lot of good FL samples like in this pack set here. There are some good ones that I have used before and you can definitely use, but all of these aren't that great. Like this one, for example, and a few of these ones, they just don't sound that good. So I'd recommend getting some sample packs. There's a lot of free ones out there that you can definitely check out. And that's about it for the template. You can use this any way you like for making music. Again, the link to the downloads will be in the description if you want to check this out and start producing music using it. You can, of course, get it from either the Mediafire links or from my Discord server. The link will be in the description. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.